Hey, how you doing? Hope everything's doing well. Listen, in this talk, we're going to go over the chapter 7 of Inspired Logical Strategy That Works. This chapter, as you've been progressing through the exercises there, and the chapters, is where we talk about putting your strategy on paper. Once you get to where you're going, you've got some great ideas. You have everything. You have it yourself. You have it in those formats and the different examples, etc., and the tools. But you need to get it documented. And I think fortunately, you've done the work. You've done all the work you need to get it documented. You just have to put it in place. You have the material, and that's key. So what you'll see in the book, and what we'll briefly talk about here is a format for doing that, and also just some ideas on making sure that you do it effectively and powerfully. I'll go over those really quickly now because you do have the book to refer to. But again, most of your strategy will roll logically and easily from your logical proofs exercise. Remember that logical proofs exercise is where you take and test your ideas through that logical process, and you end up with tested ideas and solutions that have a very high percentage chance of working. You've already written the how it's going to be done, who will do it, when, and what will be the result. You already have that in that format. You elaborate that in a written form, but you have the basics, you have the structure. I think it's really helpful to realize you're not starting from scratch by any means when you sit down to write this thing. You're just basically expanding and documenting what you've already worked on as your strategic exercises and thinking has gotten you this far. I will say one quick thing. Remember, when you write anything that you want to convince somebody of, or a presentation, or when you're in a sales meeting, where you want to get to the end where you're in agreement, the key is to start with something that is a basic status update that everyone can agree on. That's really important. You say something like, that everybody can agree on. We've been in business for 25 years, and we've always been true to our coordinate like this. Everybody's nodding. You're on your way. I use the example in the book of the Gettysburg Address. 7 years ago, we are this country. That's where Lincoln started. You get, even though it's what he goes from there, and it comes up one of the greatest speeches ever. You start out with something that everybody agrees on. You want everybody to start nodding with you in the beginning by doing a non-confrontational truism that everyone knows, that everyone can get on page, and you get that transition from where they're all sitting around doing whatever they're thinking into start thinking about your presentation. Now, again, when you do your written presentation, you're looking at these things like your key drivers. We'll see them on the slide there, and in the book. I think that when you look at it, when you're developing your written strategy, what you're doing is you're essentially providing the background information on the organization and then the current situation. You're a little bit of past, what's going on now. You're going to highlight what makes your business work. These are the drivers. You're saying, this is where we were, this is where we are. The key things about our business are these. You're going to lay out your big idea and related ideas. So you're saying, okay, here's where we are today, this is who we are, what makes us great, and how we're doing. And now this is kind of what we want to do in the future to grow on that. You see how that logically moves. Then you do some numbers that describe the past, numbers that describe the current situation, and numbers that describe the future. Again, you're always working, you're creating a known past, a known current thing with detail, and then leverage that for your strategic prediction into the future and your objectives of where you want to go. You want to describe the factors that can improve your business and what needs to be done to get them in place. These are your action steps. Remember, you would say, this is what we're going to do, who is going to do it, how they're going to do it, when they're going to do it. And then you're going to numerically finish with basically your budget, your targets, or your numerical or measurable elements of what will happen when your strategy is in place. That's your flow. Look at the book, you'll see a much more detailed, but basically that's the concept. Where you go, and I think it's the logic of it. When you start going, you'll find, as a strategist, as a person in business, or as a strategic thinker, following this concept, this format, will get you a win. It'll get you. First of all, you'll be able to do your strategy and write it down because you're not at all starting from scratch. You've got a format, a process, and the material, but you'll also see that it works. All right. Thanks a lot.